This is seriously a topic that I've been sitting on for the better part of 3 years. Actually, it's more like 2.5. But this is something that I think is so interesting and provokes so much discussion that I just had to bring it up. And because we're quarantined, because we're not doing anything, just laying on our phones at home, maybe doing a few push-ups here and there, playing a few new video games, and watching some new YouTube videos, I decided that now is a better time than ever to bring this up. Would the Vancouver Canucks have drafted Elias Pettersson first overall in 2017? Now, before we go along further into that discussion, let's take a look at the context of what the 2017 NHL Entry Draft was. What that was a draft that the Vancouver Canucks fan base was kind of upset about in terms of the draft position and the draft pick. The Vancouver Canucks were the second worst team in the NHL that year, just second last to the Colorado Avalanche. It was really, really bad, the whole draft lottery and how everything was shaping up and how all the teams were displayed in the draft lottery, because if you remember the order of the 2017 draft, it went New Jersey, then it went Philadelphia, and then it went Dallas. This means that 3 teams that were better than Colorado and Vancouver in the standings in the regular season won the lotteries. Colorado dropped 3 spots from 1st to 4th, and Vancouver dropped 3 spots from 2nd to 5th. Canucks fans were pissed off because, hey, we had a chance of getting Hischier and Patrick and these 2 really good game-changing centers, and we dropped all the way to 5th overall. What the heck is this? We were supposed to be in the top 2 because we were the second last team. This new lottery sucks! And we all were very angry at the lottery and how things played out. But Canucks fans were somewhat even more upset when the Vancouver Canucks chose Elias Pettersson 5th overall, because guys like Cody Glass and Casey Middlestad were on the board, but the Canucks didn't choose them. They went with the guy who a lot of people thought would probably go around the 10 to 12 to 13 range in Elias Pettersson, the guy who just tore up the Allsvenskan, but to no appealing eyes who were watching the draft rankings. Enter this article here from Pass It To Bulis by Daniel Wagner on August 25th, 2017. Who would Trevor Linden and the Canucks have taken if they won the draft lottery? If they won that first overall pick? If they were in a spot to draft number 1, who would they have taken? Now, this is actually kind of interesting because the default answer would be, okay, it would be Nico Hischier or it would be Nolan Patrick, because these were the 2 guys that people were saying were going to go 1 and 2 the entire year. It was always Patrick and Hischier, and then at the very end it was Hischier then Patrick, and there was a very big debate heading into the draft as to who would eventually be first selected by New Jersey. Taking a look at it now, we know that it was Nico Hischier, but the Vancouver Canucks entered this discussion when Trevor Linden made an appearance on Sekeres and Price on TSN 1040. Now, we can't play the audio clip, that's from almost 3 years ago. Also, it's copyrighted content. But this Pass It To Bulis article kind of transcribes some of the quotes over here, because Sekeres and Price ended up asking Trevor Linden, hey, if the Canucks won the draft lottery, if they were going to pick first, who would the Canucks have taken? Linden initially refused to answer the question, but when pressed, he said, neither. This is a very, very, very interesting perspective because it immediately eliminates the top 2 centers and the top 2 projected overall picks. Blake Price immediately interpreted this as Linden suggesting the Canucks would pick Cale Makar. But Linden then said, I didn't say that, just to throw a twist in there. Now, from this, we can guarantee 2 things. 1, it wasn't Hischier. 2, it wasn't Patrick that was first on the Canucks board. Cale Makar is a maybe. Linden tried to make it seem like the Canucks didn't want to pick Makar, but The fact is, he was a very highly touted right-handed defenseman with offensive capabilities beyond the moon, and that's something that everybody kind of knew about Cale Makar going in. The only really doubtful aspect to his game was the fact that he played in Junior A in Alberta, which kind of wasn't really the best hockey in the world, so people had their own doubts about that. But for the most part, all the scouting reports, all the pre-draft reports said that Makar was going to be great. So for the Vancouver Canucks to look at a right-handed defenseman with offensive capabilities like Cale Makar, it did seem apparent that maybe he would have been first on their board if it wasn't Nico Hischier and it wasn't Nolan Patrick. But with the way things have shaped up, and with the way Elias Pettersson has captivated the Vancouver Canucks, the audience, the fan base today, as well as the perception of Pettersson when he was drafted, you can make a legitimate argument that Elias Pettersson was first overall on the Vancouver Canucks draft board. Once they drafted him, the immediate consensus was, yeah, this guy's gonna be good for us. This guy is the guy that Thomas Gradin begged for us to take. This guy is the guy that's going to come in here and be our number one center down the line. And fans kind of saw that and they were like, what are you, crazy? The guy's like 150 pounds. What the heck is this guy going to do? Body over guys and be a number one center? Heck no. How the heck is this guy going to do it? And granted, we're seeing the potential now and we're seeing that he does indeed have that sky-high potential. But back then, people were kind of confused. The Canucks, however, seemed very adamant that Elias was their guy, and with the way things have gone on now, one could argue that he was indeed going to be first. If it wasn't Hischier and it wasn't Patrick, then it most likely either was Makar or Pettersson. And for those of you who are saying, hey, what about Heiskanen? Well, Heiskanen's in a different boat. Heiskanen was ranked 4th overall in European skaters by NHL Central Scouting, behind Klim Kostin, Elias Pettersson, and Elias Andersson. Now, that doesn't depict the entire story because the Dallas Stars did choose Heiskanen 3rd overall, but to me, the fact that the Canucks drafted Olli Juolevi a year prior said to me that they weren't really looking for a Heiskanen, a left-handed defenseman who could be a top 4, top 2 guy down the line. But with the way things shaped up, and with the way that Vancouver was trending, Heiskanen to me didn't really seem like the logical pick from a management point of view. It was either going to be Makar or it was going to be Pettersson. Makar was in a weird spot too because Cale Makar was ranked 9th overall for North American skaters by NHL Central Scouting. That's not really 4th overall caliber. However, if we go to all the mock drafts, the TSNs and all that stuff, Cale Makar was ranked 9th by ISS Hockey, 7th by Future Considerations, so that to me says that the Vancouver Canucks may not have had Makar as high as some people would have hoped, but Elias Pettersson is probably the only one who I can sit here and confidently say, yeah, I really wouldn't be surprised if he was 1st overall. So I want you to imagine that scenario. The Vancouver Canucks, instead of dropping from 2 to 5, they get the 1st overall pick. It's not New Jersey, it's Vancouver. And the Vancouver Canucks, with the 1st overall pick, they walk up to the podium. It's in Chicago, the building is packed. They walk up to the podium, and they say, hey, with the 1st overall pick, Vancouver is proud to select from Timrå, Elias Pettersson. Imagine that. Just imagine how the fan base would explode if Elias Pettersson was 1st overall over Nico Hischier, over Nolan Patrick, over Miro Heiskanen and Makar, and everybody else who was available at that spot. That would have changed the world. That would have been a huge, huge reach at number 1 overall because people thought that it was a huge, huge reach at 5th overall. Just imagine how crazy bananas this fan base would have been if we took Elias Pettersson 1st overall. Nowadays, he's proving that he's actually kind of worth that tier. It's either him or Makar that will go 1st overall in a redraft, and it's not even close. But, the way things were back then kind of paints a different picture as to how things are today. So, I hope you enjoyed this video. and bye.